Welcome to Energy Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 11th of April, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at exchange traded commodities and then European OTC gas and power products traded off the Trayport screen. So we start with Brent crude really making a strong recovery here. We're back above this 56 level on Brent, so that's quite key. And we've now got these upside targets, three of them. Remember, multiple upside targets give us a higher conviction that we will go there. And this 57.50 level that we see here on Brent crude really important. So if we get through 57.50, then the 60s looks quite conceivable, and we've got targets to about 59.60 there as well. So lots of targets into the high 50s. We've just got to break this 57.50 to be sure. We might find that there's some resistance there. Keep an eye on the 1 minute chart for any sign of any downturn first, but this fact that we've got these multiple targets is quite bullish now. So taking a look at WTI, the key thing with WTI is we've also got to break this 55 level. So it's 57.50 on Brent, 55 level on WTI. That would deactivate this downside target that we saw on the recent sell-off of 37. And we've got these targets here suggesting that we will get above 55 as well. So crude's starting to look strong at last. Looking at heating oil, that's looking bullish as well. US nat gas is just below the cloud a little bit. We've got downside targets to 317 and 330, so targets in both directions. But overall, US nat gas is looking fairly strong in the long term. RBOB has been the standout, strong on all three time frames. Looking at coal, we've sold off quite dramatically on the short-term chart. We're hitting resistance here on the medium term, so we're bearish in the short term, bearish in the medium term. The long term is still bullish, but it's looking like we needed to break that $70 level. It's looking like we won't manage to do that. We've got downside targets into the 50s, even into the 40s. So quite key. Emissions looks bearish in the medium and long term, and looking at the front month MBP contract exchange traded, we are below the cloud here as well. So gas prices falling away. We'll look at OTC in a minute, and TTF much the same picture. The dollar is just holding on to this 100 level. We've got to get above 150. We'll activate that new upside target of 5% to 106. So the dollar has 5% upside if we can get above the 150 level on the dollar index. Looking at euro dollar, that's translating into euro weakness. The French election starting to impacting this chart a little bit. 102 is the downside target there, and we are looking pretty bearish with lots of downside targets. So the euro still looks vulnerable for the coming months, as does sterling, again with lots of downside targets. We are below the cloud here as well. Downside targets to 120 and 122. Euro sterling, the rate is fairly flat. Taking a look at the OTC markets, we start with MBP front month, and we see here that has turned bearish back below the cloud. We've got a downside target of 35.80. So that's 6% downside, and 33.16, that's 13% downside, and now a new big downside target of 16. Very hard to believe that target has been activated as well. That's of course a very long-term target, but it is just telling us that the market is looking very weak across the board. So not good news for MBP. And if we want to take a look at the 1 minute chart, we can go straight to the Trayport screen. Go from Trayport Dual, just choose update a chart, and from there we can actually go down to the data. So we can go into the 1 minute data, press the T key, and we see now that we've got these downside targets on MBP of 35.55 and 36.75. That's 7% and 4.5% downside. So really more significant downside targets there on MBP, not looking good. Looking at within day, that's turned bearish as well, as has the seasons, and the day ahead chart also looking pretty bearish. So on pretty much all OTC contracts on MBP, it's looking pretty bearish. TTF high cal, much the same story, just coming below the cloud. We've got this target of 11.87 downside, so really quite key. We found strong resistance at 16.25, and we've come back a euro as we speak. We're now just below the cloud. And if we look at the summer seasons, much the same picture. Just bullish on this chart, but bearish on the medium and long term again. Looking at the prompt market, just selling off there. It must be said that TTF not quite as bearish as the MBP chart. We look at NCG struggling again, just found really strong resistance in the short term, couldn't get above the cloud, and the same with Gazprom. It hasn't managed to get bullish at all. So German gas market's looking pretty bearish. Taking a look at German power, quite a strong sell-off yesterday. And we see this morning that it's not bounced on that, and that's had a significant effect on the chart because we've now got these downside targets. And if we take a look at the 1 minute chart, we can just from the Trayport screen, let's see, we take the front month contract. This is the continuous. A lot of data here. So we look. This is the last several days of trading. And that data becomes useful to us when we want to just press the T key and get the downside targets. We had these upside targets to 30, 80 and 31. Didn't quite get there. The fact that we didn't quite get there on German power is a little bit bearish. We've got a new downside target now at 28.05. Yesterday we said if we went below this 29.50 level, that would be bearish. We're below there this morning, and we've got a downside target. If we fall lower than this low, about 29.30, let's say we fall to 29.25, 29.20, then we activate this target to 28.05, so we see another euro or so sell off. So German power just at the moment not looking as good, and keep an eye on these 1 minute charts throughout trading. Here we see we've got downside targets 28.95, 29.25, and in the very short term targets, as we change the box size here, we start to see some upside targets creeping in, but at the moment German power is having a short-term sell-off. Taking a look at the quarters, not looking as bad, but again, and we're still bullish above the cloud. I mean, this is the key thing. We are bullish still on these short-term charts. Even on the calendar contract, we are holding on just on the lagging line. So we see here we're on the quarters, we're just holding the position above the cloud, and on the months also, but we are just seeing some short-term weakness creeping in there. Taking a look at French power, much the same picture. We're still bullish, but we're just seeing a bit of a sell-off today and yesterday creeping in there. And Dutch power has been falling away quite significantly, so we are seeing on the short-term charts here Dutch power is weaker, and so German power is still the longer-term strength. And Spanish power continues its run higher, so still looking pretty bullish. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.